Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 30th day of October 2023. Well, hope you had a good weekend. I've been doing a lot of tincturing and infusing herbs into oils this weekend, so that was fun. Did the last bit of tomatoes. That was just such a relief to not have to do anymore. The garden's over with. Well, I shouldn't say that. The broccoli is still out there, and I'm sure it'll be fine. We did the carrots, and so they're done. But basically, there's still broccoli left, which is nice. We'll see how long we can keep that alive over the winter. Tomorrow, of course, is Samhain, or otherwise known as Halloween. When the veil is thinnest, the sun god dies, and only to be reborn again on winter solstice. So you're in that liminal experience there where the veil is thinning, and you can access that layer of existence where your ancestors are, and you can create an altar in honoring your ancestors. I have one that stays up all year out in the living room, and I have my grandmother. I have a picture of her there, and so it's just a wonderful time of harvest, kind of the last piece of harvest. I may make a soup. I don't know. We'll see. I think we're going to start harvesting potatoes today or tomorrow or something. But he did get some. My husband did bring some in, and so I can use those as well. So, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Beautiful full moon coming off of that. The energy's still a little crazy right now. So, just if that's true for you, you can sit with that. Let's see. I've already taken the rune, but I forgot. I got to do the. I have to talk about today's oracle card from the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck. This is Artemis. Now, Artemis is, she reflects the untamed within, the instinct, very similar to Lilith in that regard. She's, you can see her there. She's also the same person as Diana. But Artemis or Diana, they're the goddess of the hunt and of the moon. You can see her defending herself with her bow and arrow. She's said to never miss. But she's also twin. She's the daughter of Zeus and twin sister to Apollo. But what she does, what Artemis or Diana, however you see her, she asks you to embrace your instinctual or primal nature, to speak your truth and be fearless in your own authority. It's even though it says the untamed, realistically you're in charge of that, of just how untamed you want to be. But to step outside your comfort zone, to reject complete domestication for living your own life and speaking truth to power and being who you are. So that's Artemis today and the untamed side of self. So let's see, I'll put that right there. And since I've already drawn today's rune without thinking, it's Tiwaz, which reflects the god Tyr, or the spiritual warrior within, which I think aligns extremely well with Artemis or Diana, whichever you prefer to call her. It's essentially an arrow, and Tiwaz is the 17th rune of the Elder Futhark, and so it has an 8 numerology. And let's write that down here, so when I do the numerology for the whole reading, we include that. So we've got 17. I'll put 17 instead. But we have essentially, again, he's a spiritual warrior within. It's about faith and justice and high ideals, oaths and sacrifices. It's also having to do with legal matters. So you could, if you were in the middle of a legal situation, maybe you're going to court today or whatever, and you drew Tiwaz, then you could carry Tiwaz with you in your pocket, on your person somehow. or you can also buy them in amulet form. So even though this is Agalas, but basically, you could carry this with you for additional strength. And guidance for how you're, how you want to present yourself in that situation. So anyhow, let's take a look at the Geomancy rune. That's the above side here with Tiwaz. Let's take a look at the below side, or the ego side, and see what we have. We have a single dot for fire. Where is air? There's air. 2 dots for air, 1 for water, and 2 for earth. So that's going to give us a missio. A missio is about loss. It can also be about decrease. It can be, I mean, you can look at it from a judgmental or qualitative type of a interpretation, but realistically, whether you're talking about a missio or acquisitio, which is gain, you've got loss and gain, decrease and increase. It could simply be the decrease of something today. So if there was, say, with Tiwaz, maybe there's a decrease in a situation that needs, in other words, it's a decrease in a situation that was causing you to need to maybe go see an attorney. That could be one way of looking at these two runes together. However, if you're going to look at it as loss, and you want to look at it maybe from an emotional standpoint, Tiwaz is asking you to see the loss for what it is, and to speak truth to power, and to access the spiritual warrior within to manage those feelings. But again, it could be the decrease of something. So maybe a decrease in the need to express the spiritual warrior within. It could be something like that. Whatever you're needing to do that for, there's a reduction in that. There's a decrease in the reason for doing it. So you can kind of see there's just two ways to look at this in terms of the Geomancy rune. And how that's impacting all of it. But again, if you're looking at Tiwaz as terms of the higher self, then you want to look at loss from that perspective, that it's part of the life that you're living here, what you meant to learn about, what you meant to discover, what you meant to experience, what all that intention was prior to focusing into form. So again, looking at loss in a way that's maybe from a higher perspective, and giving it maybe a little less emotional interpretation, maybe, and trying to see it from a more dispassionate way, maybe. I don't know. But we're not going to really know that, though, I don't think. Anytime I draw a missio, if it's not, clear from the rune itself what it's talking about, then I really need the cards to give us a little more information on that. So let me just shuffle a little bit more here. And but right now we've got 8, which is the numerology again for Tiwaz, and that's strength. It's also material recognition and approval. It's leadership. So if you're experiencing a loss in your life, this may be a time to access that spiritual warrior within to be able to cope with that loss. I mean, it could be something just as simple as all that. I'm going to cut the deck, take the bottom half. Well, we don't have any court cards. We don't have any cards from the major arcana, but we do begin with the Ace of Pentacles. So we have 1 from Pentacles. We have the 9 of Cups. So that's Pentacles is the earth element. The 9 of Cups would be the cups are the water element, and then the 8 of Swords. So here we're looking at an overall numerology for the cards of 9 and 1 is 10, and 8 is 18. 8 and 1 is 9, so endings, completion, spirituality, and generosity. Where's my anything here. Let me activate that. So if we have 9 plus 8 is 17. And so overall with the rune itself, then we're going to have 17, which again reduces to 8. And again, you know, this brings us back to Tiwaz. That's what's going to connect the cards to Tiwaz here, because Tiwaz is the 17th rune of the Elder Futhark, and as we know, that's an 8 numerology. So we're either looking at a 9 with the cards. I'm going to write this down because I write this up and put it on the blog and Substack and Medium and Patreon and all that. But with overall, we're looking at an 8. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start talking about all this now. I think I'm going to begin with the 8. Let's just begin with the 8 and talk about this card here. Here we have the 8 of swords. We have a woman who is wearing a red dress. Now the red can reflect the fire element. A lot of these cards are going to have more than one element in it, even though swords reflects the air element. It's predominantly an air element card, essentially. But you're going to find other things. You're going to find the strength of earth with the castle on the hill over here on the cliffs. You're going to see the sand, which also is earth. You're going to see the water down here. So we really have all 4 elements in this card here. But here she's bound and blindfolded. You see 8 swords piercing the sand around her, kind of fencing her in. If we look at 8 from the standpoint of inner strength, then what she's doing here with swords there's a lot of chatter around her. Either the chatter from other people, the influence of other people, and then with the blindfold, she's basically turning off her own perceptions, and she's going within to try to access a different type of meaning to what she needs to decide here. Swords is also about decisions, it's about balance, it's about interactions, communication, fairness, balance, justice, deception. And it could be that, you know, she's experienced something very emotional. You see here she's got 1 foot in the sand and 1 foot in the water, which is very similar to the card of temperance, which did we have that on Thursday of last week? Yeah, we did. In fact, we had the 8 of swords too. And one thing I noticed with that, again, was that they both align here with where the feet are going. So when we have the foot on the ground, on the sand, you're talking about being grounded, essentially. So the decision she has to make has got to be without past perception interfering with it and trying to influence of other people's perceptions. She doesn't need anybody telling her what to do. She just needs to go within and find a new meaning to what she's dealing with, and then make a decision from a higher perspective. And again, you know, if you're looking at it in terms of Tiwaz and Amicio, you know, there could be some loss that she's dealing with. I mean, you see the wet soppy sand there. She's got it's taking the strength from the number 8 here, the inner strength, and invoking the will, essentially, hence the red dress or the fire element. And again, Tiwaz is an air element rune, so it aligns up really well, I think, with the 8 of swords, in that she's accessing that inner strength, very similar to Artemis, accessing that inner strength to understand the higher purpose of it all, and to make a decision that maybe somebody else might not make, that's simply reacting to the situation and reacting the same way they always do, judging a situation instead of getting above it all and taking a look at it in a way that's more dispassionate. And realistically, the 8 of swords, similar to the 2 of swords, where the woman is sitting with her back against the water, she's blindfolded, and her arms are crossed, and there's a sword in each hand. Well, she too needs to make a decision that's balanced and reasonable and dispassionate, that turns her back to the emotion of it all. And it seems to me that she's even turning her back to her home, because we'll just assume that she lives in that castle on the cliffs there. She's turning her back to everything and accessing that inner wisdom, the Tiwaz within, the Artemis within, to be able to make a decision that's not being influenced by anything from the past or from anybody else. And when she does that, you see a new path opens. You see the lilies over here on both sides of the path, and it wanders up here to this hedgerow that you have an archway there. The branches have grown over and created an archway. You see mountains in the background there, and you see a hand reaching out from a darker cloud with higher awareness, essentially the hand of higher awareness, having to do with your own material security, and using higher awareness to guide that. And when you do see, it opens up a new path. So maybe what she's doing here, as she's accessing that inner voice, that higher awareness, it really is opening up a different kind of experience for her. And in doing so, a new pathway opens that can be challenging, but at the same time, she's got the benefit of higher awareness to guide her steps, doesn't she? And then in the end, you see, with the 9 of endings and completion and generosity and spirituality, we have a jolly fellow there with his arms crossed, and not in a defensive posture, mind you, because you can see the way he's sitting. And so oftentimes, when you see somebody with their arms crossed and their legs crossed, they're like really defensive. They're hanging on to whatever they want to hang on to there, and they don't want to appear vulnerable. But this guy is just like, hey, look at me. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. Whatever this path has taken me on, I'm at the end of the day, I'm emotionally fulfilled from it all. I'm successful. I'm fortunate. I'm at the end of it, I have given up on the things that were holding me back. That could involve a missio, letting go of those things, and making the decision that he needed to make in this case of the 9. But we can just say she made the decision she needed to make, and now we're on a different path that will take you to additional material security, because again, the pentacle is about the earth element, and that's about our physical reality, and it has mostly, and because it looks like a coin, it has to do primarily with material security. So it can have to do with finances, all that you do, education, although education can also fall under air and sometimes fire, but it's that earthiness that gets you where you need to go, that's practical, pragmatic, grounding, it's foundational. And so and how do we live? We have to have money to live, and that's part of our foundation, and whatever it takes to get that income coming in, right? Well, the new path, even though it's challenging, it's going to be one that's going to be leave you with a little more material security, and then you're going to be a happy jolly fellow like this guy. See? So I think what a missio really then is about today is letting go of past perception and letting go of the noise around you to where you're the one making your own decisions here. And again, that's a very Artemis kind of thing to do, to access the instinct, to access the primal nature, to access the higher self, the Lilith within, if you will. I tend to gravitate more toward Lilith than I do to Artemis, but Diana, in the Diana sense, I guess I gravitate toward her. Artemis, I don't think of it that way. I think of her as Diana, but that's the wrong one here. There we go here. But again, she shoots straight. And what do we have? Oh, which way should I do it? This way. And what do we have here? What does this look like? The arrow here for Tiwaz. So I think for today, if you're experiencing some things where you need to make a decision about it, And maybe you've been upset, maybe you've been seeing things in a way it's just not, you're not getting to the decision you need to get to. It could be that you're trying to use memories and past experiences in a way that really aren't relevant to what you're trying to decide now. Maybe you have thought a certain way for a long time, and now you're realizing it doesn't really apply to the situation I'm in right now. So maybe I need to see this completely differently, and to go within and access higher awareness and let higher awareness guide you. We all give our situations in our lives the meaning that it has. We can define it any way we want to, but the problem is when we're real ego based in it all, then we tend to blame, we tend to not take responsibility, we tend to judge in ways that really, it puts you in a loop you can't ever get out of. And this way, if you just see things as experiences to learn from and not get that emotionally involved with it all and come up with all this justification and all this other stuff, if you just let go of that, and that would be the emissio part of this, to just let that fall away essentially, and see things in a very dispassionate, spiritual, loving, non-judgmental way, and that includes, of yourself as well. I mean, we are our harshest critics oftentimes, and this is not really a time for that. It's to let that go and speak truth to power, even if it's the power within, and say, you know what, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to try this on, I'm going to see how this feels, this new perception, this new way of seeing this situation, and see if the answers aren't there. Maybe that's all it takes, is to let go of things that no longer serve, to be able to actually see the truth of something and then make the decision you need to make. And when you do, it may open a path to something new that could involve more material security for you. And if so, then you're going to feel, obviously, at the end of it all, so you're going to gain some happiness and emotional fulfillment from it all. Even if it's just being able to step outside your comfort zone and experience a new perception about something, because then you kind of realize, ooh, this feels better to me than this other stuff did. And that was really holding me back, because I was stuck in some perceptions here that really it wasn't going to get me anywhere, right? And so if that's happening for you today, just accessing the Tiwas within, accessing the higher self within, and going from that standpoint, seeing things from that perspective, can really open a new path for you, that can lead you to better things and a whole lot more emotional fulfillment than maybe you're currently having. So I think that's it. I think we did it for a Monday. And tomorrow I have some lights. I haven't put them up yet. Well, I'm going to go do that in a little while. I'm going to put my little lights up out in the living room and decorate the altar a little bit more, and make it look a little bit more autumny than what it does. And I think I'm going to go put my little amethyst skull out there, and maybe I think I'll probably bring my Hecate's wheel and put that out there as well, and enjoy the day tomorrow. And we used to do a thing. We used to remember. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Labyrinth. David Bowie was in it, and he was just wonderful, and it was a Muppets movie, and the kids watched it, and each year we would watch it. It would come on at Halloween at Samhain, and we would watch it. It was just a thing we did. So I don't know, maybe our I don't think our granddaughter would probably be old enough to watch it. I don't know if the boys would really care, but they might. But I need to text my son, my youngest, and say, hey, is this the year to add Labyrinth to Halloween? So I think we'll probably watch it, just because it's just such a great movie. And It's just a lot of fun. I already did Coven on my birthday, so I binged watched the whole thing. That was fun, you know, because you got to do that anyway. Enjoy your day. Enjoy tomorrow. You know, if you are into the candy, well, you know, we've already had some. I don't think I'm going to have any more. It gives me a headache. The sugar doesn't set well with me. It just gives me a headache. So I don't do candy corn anymore. I can think about candy corn and get a headache. It's just too much, right? Just too much. But I guess we'll, the forecast is out on the blog over at Stepping Aside. I should tell you about that. And the web address there is imsteppingaside.com. You can click on more below the video here and it'll be right there at the top. Let's see. Oh, also the daily correspondences for Work and Magic this week are out. Also there. The Exploring Tarot post is also there. All of this stuff I post over on Substack and on Medium. I don't do the correspondences. I don't post those over there, but I do post the forecast and the Exploring Tarot post over on those three other sites as well. And the newsletter went out. The newsletter went out on Saturday. You get all this stuff ahead of time. If you want to get the newsletter, you can do that. And let's see, I think that's it. We had one new subscriber this week. Thank you, last week. Thank you so much. And, if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'd love you to do that. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you've come back, thank you so much. And I guess that's it. Have a great day. And, come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.